Good morning, everyone. Hope you have done well in the FST2 exam. And the paper was a good paper, and the standard of the paper is also very good. Both the physical as well as inorganic, they asked in a very good manner, and it's a good paper. So hope you have done well, and a few doubts and little typical questions if there is anything in this. Let's see the solutions of this paper. So now we are doing FST2 paper 1. In this, the first question of chemistry, it starts itself from question number 41. In question number 41, first they have given this is an endothermic reaction. Delta H is equals to positive. Delta H equals to positive is given, and they are asking about select the options by which equilibrium concentration of a gas can be increased, which means backward reaction favored. In which backward reaction can be favored. So the first option that could be decrease in temperature. Since it is an endothermic reaction, increase in temperature shifts the equilibrium towards a forward direction. Therefore, decrease in temperature definitely shifts backward reaction. No doubt about it. Decrease in temperature. Next, increase in the volume of the container. Increase in the volume of the container, which means volume increases, that is pressure will decrease. As the pressure decreases, equilibrium is always shifted towards the more number of moles. Here more number of moles are going to be number of moles of reactants are 3. Number of moles of products, gaseous product, number of moles of products is going to be 2. And therefore, as the pressure decreases, equilibrium will be shifted towards more number of moles, that is backward direction. Therefore, that is also true. And the third option, decrease in the volume of the container. Obviously, if increase in volume is a favorable condition, definitely decrease in pressure is not. But we will see. As the volume decreases, pressure increases. As the pressure increases, equilibrium will be shifted towards a less number of moles. Less number of moles, which means forward direction. So it favors forward, not backward reaction. Adding B at equilibrium. As the concentration of products increases, which means free energy is adding on the product side. When free energy which is adding on the product side, equilibrium will be shifted towards the backward direction. Hence, the answer which is going to be A, B and D. Now, let's see question number 42. And if you want, you can practice these kind of questions little bit. Addition of unit gas. At constant volume, there will be no change. At constant pressure, so what could be the change? And exothermic reaction. As the temperature increases, equilibrium will be shifted towards backward direction. For endothermic reaction, as the temperature increases, equilibrium can be shifted towards the forward direction. So likewise, if you practice well, then you can get more clarity regarding these questions. Question number 42. Which of the following statements is or correct? Diamond have dangling bonds? Not at all. Diamond is not having the dangling bonds, but graphite is having the dangling bonds. So dangling bonds, which means keep on changing, which is nothing but unsaturation, which is equivalent to unsaturation. Fullerenes are cage-like molecules. Yes, fullerenes are cage-like molecules like rugby ball type or soccer ball or football type of molecules, as we all know. Graphite is thermodynamically most stable allotrope of carbon. Yes, absolutely true. Graphite is the most stable, thermodynamically most stable allotrope of carbon. Hence, its enthalpy of formation of graphite is also equals to 0. Graphite is slippery, and therefore it is used as a dry lubricant in machines. Yes. When you see the graphite is having sp2 hybridization with unpaired electrons. Because of that, dangling bonds are present, and there will be space in between the layers. Due to that, it is slippery and it can be used as a lubricant. This is also true. Therefore, for this, it could be B, C as well as D. Next, 43. Which among the following will be having? Which among the following are correctly matched? And here, the very well-known question. We will keep on telling you that number of p pi d pi bonds. Why number of p pi d pi bonds are formed? P pi d pi bonds are always to be formed by the third period element onwards, which means right from phosphorus sulfur, chlorine. So like all these, right from third period, even fourth period, as well as fifth period, as well as sixth period, all these can form. Whereas second period, they can form p-pi bonds. P-pi bonds formation ability is not there in the third period. That's why they are always tending to form the p-pi d-pi bonds. They are always tending to form p-pi d-pi bonds. Yeah. Hope we will see this. Which among the following? XeO3, which is having the 3 p-pi d-pi bonds. 3 p-pi d-pi bonds. We'll see. XeO3, Xe double bond O. It will be having the sp3 hybridization. And when you look at when you look at this electronic configuration of this one, sp3 hybridization along with one lone pair of electron, definitely 3 electrons could be present in the d orbital, because it will be having 6s2, 6p6 and 6d0 electronic configuration, and here 2 electrons is present and 6 electrons are present in s orbital. No electrons could be present here. Now in the third excited state, when it comes to the third excited state, 3 electrons will move to the 6d orbital. Here one s orbital, 3 p orbitals will undergo hybridization and it forms sp3 hybridization. And here we will be having the 3 unpaired electrons. With these 3 unpaired electrons, 3 p orbitals of oxygen are going to form bond and forms the sigma bond. And again here 3, how many d electrons are there? 3 d electrons. The number of d electrons which are present is nothing but equals to its number of p-pi d-pi bonds. That we were already seen. Next, option B. We are having H2SO3. H2SO3. In H2SO3, the structure which is going to be S double bond O, OH as well as OH. Yes, double bond O, OH as well as OH. Its oxidation state equals to +1. And in which state, in which excited state this molecule is going to be formed? First excited state. In first excited state, how many d orbitals are going to be migrated? Only 1. Therefore, 1 p-pi d-pi bond can be present. Surely 1 p-pi d-pi bond will be present. Next, option C, SO3. SO3, they have given that how many p-pi d-pi bonds are present? 3 p-pi d-pi bonds are present. 3 p-pi d-pi bonds are present. SO3, its oxidation state is a +6 and it's irrespective of oxidation state, but in which excited state it is going to happen? Second excited state. Second excited state, which means 2 d orbital unpaired electrons are present. Obviously 2 p-pi d-pi bonds are present. Next, option D. Comes to option D. HClO3. Its oxidation state is going to be +5 and here it is going to be achieved in second excited state. Therefore, 2 p-pi d-pi bonds will be definitely present. 2 p-pi d-pi bonds will be definitely present. Therefore, except this one, option A, option B, as well as option D, all of them are going to be true. All of them are true. And you remember one thing, when it comes to the sulfur, you remember like this. When it comes to the sulfur is having the oxidation state +4. Definitely its number of p-pi d-pi bonds, maximum number of p-pi d-pi bonds are going to be only 1. If sulfur oxidation state is a +6, its number of p-pi d-pi bonds will be definitely 2. XeO3, XeO4. How many number of oxygens are there? Those many number of p-pi d-pi bonds are present. Remember like that. Even you take anywhere, even when it comes to the phosphorus oxyacids, number of PO bonds are present, number of P double bond O bonds are present, those many number of p-pi d-pi bonds are present, which means H3PO2, 1 p-pi d-pi bond, H3PO3, 1 p-pi d-pi bond, H3PO4, 1 p-pi d-pi bond, HClO2, 1 p-pi d-pi bond, HClO3, 2 p-pi d-pi bonds, HClO4, 3 p-pi d-pi bonds. That's it. If you are remembering like that, then it will be easier for you to do. Otherwise, it can be difficult. Next, question number 44. At Boyle's temperature, the graph Z versus P is drawn for hydrogen. Select the incorrect graph. At Boyle's temperature, the temperature below which the gas behaves as an ideal gas. So, the temperature we can call it as a Boyle's temperature. And for hydrogen gas, they are telling hydrogen gas, which is a positive deviation gas. Hydrogen as well as helium are always going to be positive deviation gases, which never be having Z value less than 1. It is impossible for it. Always Z value is greater than 1 only possible. Therefore, in the given graphs, if you check for these ones, which among the following are incorrect? Therefore, that is going to be A, B as well as D are tending to be, because it behaves definitely little ideal, not every time ideal. Therefore, A is going to be little wrong, because as the over range of pressure, initially it may tend to behave like an ideal gas, but here this is going to be wrong, and this is also wrong, because it could be true because over little range of pressure below Boyle's temperature, he said, because it definitely behaves as an ideal gas. Therefore, here only it tried to behave as an ideal gas. Among these two, it is not at all. At every pressure, it does not behave. Over a wide range of pressure, it can behave. What is the Boyle's temperature? The temperature below which gas can behave as an ideal over a wide range of pressure, not at every pressure. Option B, you have at every pressure it is behaving like an ideal. That's why it is wrong. Next, when you look at the option D is hopeless. When it comes to option D, that is hopeless, because it is a tending Z is less than 1. Z is less than 1, which is impossible. Which is just impossible. It is not at all possible, that case. That's why it is not going to happen. Therefore, only option C is correct, which means that is the correct graph, whereas incorrect graphs we needed. Therefore, A, B as well as D. A, B, D are the options that we have to keep in your mind, and you have to put the tick. And comes to another topic, 45th question. When it comes to the 45th question, which is little 45th question, when it is come to the little tricky one, that is an amount of 20 grams of potassium sulfate was dissolved in 150 ml of water. The solution was then electrolyzed. After electrolysis, the content of potassium sulfate in the solution was 15% by mass. Determine volume of the gases obtained at NTP. That is what they are saying when it comes to this 45th question. When it comes to this 45th question, see 20 grams of potassium sulfate, K2SO4, which is dissolved in 150 ml of water. 150 ml of water. Therefore, it is going to form K2SO4 aqueous solution. K2SO4 aqueous solution. In this, what ions are present? We have what ions are present? K plus ion is present. H plus ion is present. Cations, these are the cations. SO4 minus 2 ion is present, as well as OH minus ion is also present. Among these two cations, K plus as well as H plus, according to preferential discharge theory, H plus is going to be migrated towards the cathode, and hydrogen gas is going to be released. When it comes to SO4 minus 2 and OH minus is going to be come to the anode, and it is going to be discharged first. Therefore, when it comes to cathode, at cathode, 2H plus 2 electrons gives rise to H2, hydrogen gas, at cathode. Whereas 4OH minus gives rise to 2H2O plus O2 plus 4 electrons. This is the reaction at anode. Reaction which takes place at the anode. Now, what they are saying, an amount of 20 grams of potassium sulfate was dissolved in 150 ml of water. The solution was then electrolyzed. After electrolysis, the content of potassium sulfate in the solution was 15% by mass, which means they were electrolyzed. Potassium sulfate is not going to be evaporated, because either K plus ion or SO4 minus 2 ion, both the ions are not going to be it is not going to be discharged. Then which ions are going to be discharged? H plus ion can be discharged, as well as OH minus ion only can be discharged. Because of that reason, both H plus and OH minus are going to be discharged. K plus and SO4 minus 2 ions are going to be present in that solution only. So after some electrolysis time, in the aqueous solution of K2SO4, K2SO4 is present in it, whereas H plus and OH minus ions are both are going to be discharged in the form of hydrogen gas as well as the oxygen gas. So for that he has given one thing, 15% by mass of KOH. 15% by mass of KOH, that is for example percentage weight is equals to weight divided by weight of solute divided by weight of solution into 100. Percentage by mass which is given as 15%. Weight of the solute, that is not changed, 20 grams intact, divided by weight of the solution. This is new weight of the solution into 100. Therefore, from this new weight of the solution, that would come out as, that is equals to 133.33. In this new weight of the solution, 20 grams of potassium sulfate is present. Don't forget that. So that weight of water which is electrolyzed is equals to, so this is the new weight of solution. From this new weight of solution, I am subtracting the weight of K2SO4 from it first of all. Therefore, 133.33 minus 20, that is equals to 113.33 grams. Therefore, weight of water electrolyzed, that is equals to 150 ml. Initially that was minus 113.33, that is equals to 36.67 grams. 36.67 grams, which is definitely, therefore number of moles of water which is electrolyzed is equals to 36.67 divided by 18. It will be definitely 2.02 or 2.03 moles. Here if you see, for every 2 moles of water molecule when it is undergoing electrolysis, 2 moles of hydrogen and 1 mole of oxygen is forming. So for 2 moles of hydrogen and 1 mole of oxygen, and here we are having 2.02, therefore or approximately 2.02. It is going to be something around 2.02 divided by 2, 1.01. So 2.02 into 22.414, 1.01 into 22.414. And the options are going to be A as well as B. So both those are the options of this one. Now next we will see question number 46. In this question number 46 we have a reaction TiO2 solid plus 2Cl2 gas gives rise to TiCl4 plus O2 gas. And here they have given delta H0F of TiO2, TiCl4, chlorine, oxygen. S0 values are also given, and they are asking about the change in enthalpy of the reactions. So change in enthalpy of reaction, change in entropy of reactions they are asking. Change in enthalpy of reaction equal to enthalpy of formation of products minus enthalpy of formation of reactants. That is equals to enthalpy of formation of TiCl4 plus enthalpy of formation of O2 minus enthalpy of formation of TiO2 plus enthalpy of formation of 2 into enthalpy of formation of chlorine. As we all know that enthalpy of formation of O2, enthalpy of formation of Cl2, both of them are equals to 0 because they are in the standard form. That is equals to enthalpy of formation of reaction equal to enthalpy of formation of TiCl4. Enthalpy of formation of TiCl4, that is minus 804 minus enthalpy of formation of TiO2. Enthalpy of formation of TiO2 minus 944. So from this it is very much evident that this value is going to be plus 140.5 kilojoules. That is positive. Delta H reaction is also given positive. Therefore that is true. Next, in that option B, we have to calculate delta SR. Delta SR. So for this delta SR, we have to take in the same manner. Delta S of products minus delta S of reactants. Delta S of reactants. That is equals to delta S of products minus delta S of reactants. If we calculate here delta S of products. So what are the delta S of products? Delta S of TiCl4 plus delta S of O2 minus delta S of TiO2 minus 2 into delta S of Cl2. That is equals to delta S of TiCl4. Delta S of TiCl4, which is given as 252.3 plus delta S of O2, that is 205.1 minus delta S of TiO2 50.3 minus 2 into delta S of Cl2. Cl2 that is given as, for chlorine that is given as 2 into 233.0. So this whole value will come out as minus 58.9 kilojoules or joule mole inverse Kelvin inverse. So joule mole inverse Kelvin inverse. This value is negative, therefore option B is wrong. And come to option C, delta G naught of reaction. Delta G naught of reaction equal to delta H naught of reaction minus T delta S naught of reaction. Delta H naught of reaction, that was, here it is 140.5 minus T into what is that value? T value, which is given as 25 degrees Celsius, therefore I can take it as 298 minus this is minus 58.9. So minus of minus, this is equal to positive, and this value is also positive. Overall value is a positive. Therefore delta G naught of reaction is a positive. Obviously that reaction which is not going to be spontaneous. Hence the options are going to be A, C and D. Next question, question number 47. Question number 47. A buffer solution can be prepared by mixing of, first one, potassium chloride and potassium hydroxide. Potassium chloride and potassium hydroxide, which does not make the buffer solution because it's a salt of strong base, strong acid, and it is a strong base, which does not form the buffer solution. B, ammonium hydroxide, NH4OH along with NH4Cl. Yes, it definitely forms the buffer solution. C, sodium acetate, CH3CONA along with the CH3COOH. Surely it can form buffer solution because weak acid, and this is going to be salt of weak acid. This is also weak base, and it is a salt of weak base. And D, boric acid, H3BO3 along with borax, Na2B4O7. Definitely in its aqueous solution, this is also going to form like a salt. It's a weak acid, and it is a salt of strong base and weak acid. Because Na2B4O7 in an aqueous solution, it is going to be converted to H3BO3. Therefore, definitely this is going to form a buffer solution. Next comes to question number 48. In question number 48, boiling of sodium thiosulfate is prepared by boiling of Na2SO3 solution with sulfur in acidic medium. Sulfur in acidic medium, which is not possible. Boiling NaOH with the sulfur. This is possible. When sodium hydroxide when sodium hydroxide, when it is boiled, it is going to form Na2S2O3. Sodium thiosulfate can be formed. Neutralization of H2SO3 along with NaOH. Therefore, here it produces Na2SO3 plus NH2O. It's an acid-base reaction. It does not produce Na2S2O3. Boiling of Na2SO3 along with S in the absence of it. In the absence of it is going to produce Na2S2O3. Surely it can produce. Don't forget, if it is in the presence of air, what happened? Sulfur will combine with oxygen and it is going to produce the sulfur dioxide rather than producing the sodium thiosulfate. So, let's not forget that one. And comes to question number 49. Question number 49. Choose the correct statements from the following. Beryllium is not readily attacked by acids because of the presence of an oxide film on the surface of the metal. This is true. In the secondary group, both beryllium as well as magnesium both are having the little less reactivity. Compared to first group elements, secondary group elements are having less. But truly both beryllium as well as magnesium, they have the very less reactivity due to the formation of the thin film oxide layer on them. That layer is nothing but beryllium oxide. That's why solid form of beryllium does not react with does not react in the presence of air, whereas powdered form of beryllium is going to be definitely reactive, which we already know. So that is right statement. Beryllium sulfate is readily soluble in water as the greater the hydration enthalpy of Ba2 plus overcomes the lattice enthalpy factor. Yes, absolutely true. So when you take right from BaSO4 to BaSO4, BaSO4 which is a precipitate, we all know it. BaSO4 is completely soluble. This is definitely soluble. But beryllium, magnesium, then after calcium sulfate. Calcium sulfate which is not soluble. You just imagine barium sulfate solubility strength. So down the group the solubility which is going to be decreased, beryllium sulfate which is highly soluble. So yes, the reason is its hydration enthalpy, that is very much known. Beryllium exhibits coordination number more than 4. It's not possible. Beryllium can exhibit maximum coordination number 4 only because of absence of d orbitals, you could say. Because see, if you take beryllium hydroxide BeOH taken twice, when it reacts with another 2 moles of OH minus gives rise to it forms BeOH taken 4 times 2 minus. Here why it is possible? Only because of the vacant orbitals. Those are 2s orbital, 2s 2p orbitals are present. Vacant as well 2s as well as 2p orbitals are present. That's why coordination number 4 is possible. No d orbitals are possible. When d orbitals are possible, coordination number 6, which means more than coordination number 4 could be possible. Beryllium oxides is a purely acidic in nature. No, beryllium oxides are amphoteric in nature. BeO, it can react with HCl as well as it can react with the sodium hydroxide. BeO, when it reacts with HCl, it forms BeCl2. When it reacts with sodium hydroxide, it forms BeOH taken twice. Definitely which is possible, it is on the cards. No doubt about it. Next, question number 50. Yeah, here the right options are A as well as B. Yeah, in question number 50, in a, next question number 50, in a cubic unit cell, atoms of A present at all corners. Therefore, 8 into 1 divided by 8, that equals to 1. Atoms of B are present at non-adjacent phase centers. Non-adjacent phase centers are nothing but alternate phase centers. And also not common to the phases containing B atoms at the edge centers. So edge centers are present, but which are not present at the which are not the atoms of B present edge centers. So for example, above 1, below 1, if both of them are present. If above 1, below 1, if both of them are present, this edge center should not contain, as well as this edge center should not contain, as well as that edge center. Overall 8 edge centers will not be present. So only 4 edge centers will be present. So alternate phase centers, those are going to be 2 into 1 divided by 2, 4 into 1 divided by 4, that is equals to 2. C atoms of C are present at the body center, body center, and remaining face centers. Remaining face centers are out of 6, so 2 of them are present. Therefore, remaining are going to be only 4. 4 into 4 face centers. Therefore, 1 into 1 plus 4 into 1 divided by 2, that is equals to 3. So it is going to be A1, B2, C3. A1, B2, C3, except that formula, remaining formulas are going to be which among the following cannot be. Therefore, options are going to be B, C as well as D. B, C as well as D. Next. Yeah, when it comes to the single digit questions, yeah, question number 56. Question number 56. In this question number 56, they have given orbital angular momentum. Orbital angular momentum is going to be square root of L into L plus 1 h divided by 2 pi. This value is given as root 3 h divided by pi. H by pi gets cancelled. Therefore, this is going to be square root of L into L plus 1 is equals to 2 root 3. Obviously, from this we can easily understand that L value should be equals to 3. If L value is equals to 3, therefore this is going to be F orbital. If this is an F orbital, they are asking how many possible orientations are possible. How many possible orientations will be there? There will be 7 possible orientations. Therefore, option which is going to be 7. 7 possible orientations are possible. Next. Question number 57. Question number 57. So, yeah, in this question number 57, how many of the following underlined element are sp3 hybridized? Yeah, first one, as we all know, that very contradictory one, copper tetramine complex, ammonia complex, that is nothing but sp2d as well, or dsp2. There is a big debate, sp2d hybridization. PCl3 definitely sp3 hybridization. Is definitely sp3 hybridization. BCl3 sp2 hybridization. PTN taken twice plus 2. As we all know that all platinum complexes with coordination number 4, they are all dsp2. Next, nickel CO taken 4 times. We will check with this. Nickel is having 4s2 3d8. So 4s2 3d8 in the presence of carbon monoxide, it's a carbonyl, it's a strong ligand, therefore obviously 3d10 is possible. So it's paired up against the Hansrud. One 4s orbital, here 4p orbitals. Definitely sp3 hybridization which is possible for the nickel tetracarbonyl complex. CS2, which is, we all know that is sp hybridized. SO4 2 minus sp3 hybridized. SnCl2 definitely not sp2 hybridization, that is SnCl4 sp3 hybridized. HgCl2, it's a more than pure orbitals are participated in HgCl2. ClO4 minus definitely sp3 hybridized. C2H4 sp2 hybridized. CS3 plus sp2 hybridized. CS3 minus sp3 hybridized, yes, sp3 hybridized. NH4 plus sp3 hybridized. ClF3, those are d orbitals participated, sp3d. Next, NO3 minus. NO3 minus, if you check, it is going to be sp2 hybridized. ClO3 minus, yeah, ClO3 minus, that is going to be 5 now. ClO3 minus, it will be 7, 8, definitely sp3 hybridized. There is also sp3 hybridized. PH3, remember this, ammonia is sp3 hybridization, but PH3 is a pure orbitals participation rather than the hybrid orbitals. Nickel tetracyanide complex, in nickel tetracyanide complex 2 minus, yeah, here you have to be really careful. When nickel tetracarbonyl, that is a different, but this is nickel tetracarbonyl, that is 2 minus complex. If you take here, nickel oxidation state could be Na plus 2. When Na plus 2 is there, definitely this s orbital vacancy will be there, and D8, which means definitely dsp2 hybridization. No need to worry about it. PCl5 sp3d, CH2O, that will be sp2 hybridization. SF6 sp3d2, Cl2CO sp2, I3 minus sp3d, H2S pure orbitals participation. Okay, therefore how many are there? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah, so these are done. Next, when 58 question number 58, sulfuryl chloride, 58th question, pyrolusite is heated with KOH in the presence of a green colored compound results. What is the oxidation state number of manganese in the compound? Pyrolusite MnO2, when it is heated in the presence of air, definitely it is forming, what does it forms? A green colored compound, nothing but manganate ion, MnO4 2 minus. Its oxidation state is +6. So answer could be 6.